Hello to all, I hope you're doing well. Today we have a story about a man who moved his wife and newborn daughter out so he could have an unfettered affair. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. This story is titled, This Ends With Me. I was 37 weeks pregnant with our daughter, a miracle baby that we tried so hard to have for many years, after many losses, when I leaned over my sleeping husband to look through his phone. This is something I'd never done before in the entirety of our 5-year marriage. I'd never felt I needed to. Up until that point I felt this man truly loved me, that I was the light of his life, his soulmate. That's why in the previous weeks I knew something was wrong. He became distant and detached. I can't explain it, but I just knew. I found the messages immediately. I love you so much baby, 4x, my heart sank and I didn't read anything more. If I had, maybe I could have saved myself the pain that was yet to come. Instead, I shouted, wake up. Who the frick is blank? He stared at me blankly and said, do you have my phone? He then wrestled it from my hands. Being as I was heavily pregnant, I didn't put up much of a fight. He convinced me he had only been messaging her for 2 weeks. That he didn't love her, the conversations just got out of hand. He was stressed out and depressed. He made a mistake. He even threw in a few things I had done that made him do what he did. I could feel my daughter wriggling around in my belly. The only thing I could say was, I forgive you. But it's me or her. In that moment, I just wanted it to be not real. I'm not sure why I didn't leave there and then. Anyway, he chose me. For the 2 weeks after, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, I couldn't function. I'd start sobbing and shaking hysterically at any given moment. At first he tried to comfort me, but slowly he started to just ignore me. Telling me that my crying was annoying and I needed to get over it and just trust him. He lasted 2 days, leaving his phone in a visible spot, as was one of my stipulations for reconciliation, before he began carrying it around in his pocket again, sleeping with it under his pillow. But I convinced myself that I was just being annoying and needed to get over it and trust him. Even when he told me he was going to a work trivia night, only a few days after I found out. I let him go. Knowing deep down in my soul that he was going to see her but not wanting to believe it to be true. I gave birth via scheduled C-section at 39 weeks pregnant. My husband sat next to me while I lay on the operating table and said, there's no one else I'd rather do this with. I looked in his eyes and thought, this is the moment he realizes what we have. That he loves me and our family. We heard our daughter cry, so we looked at each other and cried together. My daughter was only home for 5 days when I hobbled out of bed, barely able to walk, turned the kitchen corner to meet my husband, hunched over his phone messaging. And said, why are you doing this again? He didn't fight me this time. He told me, we're just friends now. I didn't believe him. I went back to the bedroom with our sleeping newborn daughter. I told him, once again, it's me or her. Once again he chose me. A few days later, 10 days after our daughter was born, my husband said he couldn't be around me anymore if all I was going to do was cry. We need a few days apart, he said. So he packed my newborn daughter and me up into the car with a couple of bags and dropped us off at his mother's house. Told me he would come back for us in a couple of days, he promised. He was going to get his head straight and be a better man for us. When he'd come back to pick us up, he'd be the man I needed. He never came back for us. He continued the narrative that we needed time apart to work on ourselves so that we could work on our marriage. He convinced me that he loved me and didn't want to lose me. Over the course of 4 months I tried to leave him multiple times, saying if he wanted me then why were we living apart? Why was he only visiting his daughter for 4 hours a week and rushing home? But he always talked his way around it, saying he didn't want to lose me. I knew he was still speaking to her. He would message her right in front of me during his visits, but he insisted they were only friends now and get annoyed and call me crazy if I pried. And I always gave in because I didn't want to be crazy. It was only a few days ago that I found out the truth. The second he moved us out, his girlfriend was spending the night with him in our flat. Having sex with her in our bed. When he would be texting me good morning and good night, she was oftentimes lying in bed with him. Right next to him. How do I know this? I messaged this woman, and boy was she happy to hear from me. We spent hours talking and realized he was lying to both of us. This poor woman was a victim of his as well. He was leading both of us on. She had no idea about any of this. She knew he was married with a daughter, but he said we were completely over and that I was a horrible monster of a woman who was threatening to take his daughter away. He made me out to be abusive and just terrible, none of which are true. Even when I first found out about the affair during my pregnancy, I told him I'd never take our daughter from him. She immediately broke up with him. What makes this story worse is that when I met him, he had a son that he never saw. He told me it was because his ex-girlfriend was crazy and wouldn't allow him contact. Said she cheated on him while she was pregnant and then bailed out on him. His ex tried to warn me, he actually cheated on her while she was pregnant and gave her an STD in the process, but he was so good at lying, so good that I believed him. I will always regret that. I couldn't allow him to do this to another woman. I came to his girlfriend armed with proofs of everything I was saying. Screenshots of everything. She is truly a kind woman and I'm glad she's gotten away. Sadly, he is now treating me like the bad guy, acting as if I've ruined his life. I'm taking the brunt of his anger right now and that's okay. The truth is out now and I'm done protecting him. I'm done lying to everyone because he wouldn't let me tell anyone the real reason we were living apart. I didn't tell my family back home in another country, they thought we were living as one happy family. I didn't tell most of our friends. The only people who knew were his mother and my best friend. But no more. I won't lie for him anymore. Not about the cheating, not about his first son, and not about the emotional and verbal abuse I'd been hiding before any of this ever happened. When he would scream at me during fights, calling me a fricking retard, or telling me to shut the frick up. Sitting next to me on the couch playing video games while I sobbed next to him, pleading for him to just talk to me. Throwing his glasses full force across a room at me when he was angry. Slamming doors open so hard they left holes in walls. Things I overlooked because he was just mad, and it was a mistake. When things were good, they were really good. So as long as I could be better and do better, he wouldn't have to treat me that way. No more. Never again. This man conditioned me into becoming a doormat. He would gaslight and manipulate me so much that I allowed him to get away with so much. I'd question my own sanity instead of questioning him. It's only now that I'm coming out of the fog that I can see how much was actually wrong. Almost overnight I went from feeling like I loved this man and could never live without him to feeling absolutely nothing towards him at all. I am damaged now, I probably always will be. I don't know if I can ever trust anyone ever again. But I do know that I will never ever allow anyone to do to me the things this man did. And my daughter will one day know the strength of her mother. I won't ever allow her to witness me in that victim role. I've been raising her on my own since basically day one. She is thriving and happy. She's perfect. She's an angel. She is the only reason I can't regret what I've been through because without him I wouldn't have her. She makes me a better and stronger person. This will not define me. My husband has lost everything, including his own mother who is just beside herself with grief over who he has become, and he has no one to blame but himself. This ends with me. Comment 1. Don't forget to go nuclear on the divorce. Take everything you can, alimony, child support, your share of whatever assets he has. You might think this is being vindictive and he is certainly gonna try to spin that narrative. Don't let him. All that is for the future of your daughter, that you know won't have her biological father in her life. So ensure you get whatever you can. Full custody of course. Comment 2. You a woman, in all her power. You are strong, you are determined and you are free. You are the lady your daughter will look up to and want to emulate. I am so very proud of you. Your future is yours and you will make of it what you will in your own time and on your terms. Comment 3. Yup, wow, all that crap he calls you is a mass projection of what he knows he is himself. He effed up his life, he's the retard. You took nothing away from him. You just gave people the freedom to choose for themselves and to see him for what he is. He put himself in this situation and now he has to live with the consequences. Comment 4. Wow, you are an inspiration to all. We all dream of being thought when we found out to not pick me dance and to not have let certain things fly. We all did. People who can go full awesome from day one are rare. But in the end it matters that you find your awesome. Show your daughter we don't need men. And we have them in our lives, they add to it and we are not in service of them. My mom got cheated on and left for the other woman. My dad came crawling back like 2 years later and she took him back. Our childhood was a hell with him being verbally abusive and a total completely narcissistic a hole. When I met my husband I wanted somebody who was respectful and nice to me. My ex told me he loved me every day. Did stuff in the house and generally felt like a great husband. But he was not romantic. He would never compromise or sacrifice anything for me. I never noticed that the whole marriage, everything was about him. The reason why I never noticed is because my bar was so low. A man who doesn't humiliate you and screams at you was all I thought I deserved. So when my ex just left me for another woman, I was broken. Like history repeating itself, but I won't take him back. I raised my bar, and if I ever have a daughter, this is what she will see. Comment 5. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I relate to the first half so much. I actually paused for a second thinking, is my friend writing this about me? The feeling in the pit of your stomach over seeing those texts, I totally get it. It's a feeling that should never be ignored, regardless of how many assholes try to convince you otherwise. For me, I'm highly intuitive and often wonder about being an empath. I pick up on other people's feelings, moods, thoughts. I don't know why, but it's always helped me be able to read people. Which has come in handy when said person is trying to hide how they're feeling, whatever that may be. My husband always talks about it, but yet when it comes to him, he claims I'm way off the mark. But when you know, you just know. When you're with someone for so long, it's easy to pick up in things when they start acting off. I'm always asking him how I can be right with everyone else except him. I will never understand why people cheat or make those kind of decisions. I've always thought it better to just leave said person instead of hurting them worse by cheating. I don't understand why that's so hard for some people. I'm so glad you finally got away from him and stopped believing his lies. What a dick, he left you guys at his mom's. My jaw dropped when you said he never came back. I pray you find strength, peace, hope, and that you don't become jaded because of this. I refuse to accept that all men are like my husband. Not all men would tell their wives to suck it up and stop crying, expecting the trust they've gained over all this time to just come back like poof. It's not that easy. And boy do I wish it was. I still don't trust my husband and I still don't know what's going to happen. I regret not walking away the minute I felt something off again. So big props to you. You had the strength to walk away. You should be so proud of yourself. For many, many reasons. Take this time to truly get to know yourself, to fall head over heels for yourself, after being treated the way you have for so long. You deserve it and much more. Thank you so very much for listening. Please check out my other videos and like and subscribe.